Hello and welcome back to yet another video on the Alejandro Hernandez podcast. These are going to be my official picks for week 5 of the NFL season. We're coming off a great week. We went 12-3-1 predicting straight up winners and then 10-6 predicting against the spread. So that brings us overall on the season over 70% picking straight up winners and 50% on the dot picking against the spread. So I definitely want to get that against the spread percentage up. We're going to try to do that this week, but in terms of straight up winners, I believe we're doing a great job so far this season on predicting those. So without further ado, let's get into this week. Coming in on Thursday Night Football, we have the Los Angeles Rams hosting the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to be picking the Rams to win this game and cover the spread, which is set at -8.5. And even if Purdy, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, if all those players were still healthy, that's obviously inflated the number. I believe it opened at -2.5. It's shot all the way up to 8.5 because of Purdy and all those injuries for the Niners. But despite that, I picked against the Niners last week with Purdy, and the Jags did win. And I expect the Rams to win this game by blowout. I think Stafford, Nakua, and Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams are going to be way too much for that injured Niners defense to handle. And on the other side of the football, I believe this Rams defense is top 5 in the NFL. And I think Mac Jones is going to be overwhelmed all night by Defensive Player of the Month, Byron Young, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. This Rams defensive line is ultra talented, and they're going to get after the quarterback in this game. I expect Mac Jones to struggle in this game. I expect the Rams to run the ball down the Niners' throat with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. So I expect Kyron Williams to be in the end zone tonight. And I also expect Matthew Stafford to continue on this dominant trajectory that he has started the season off with. And Puka Nacua has looked dominant, obviously, in Devontae Adams. So I think this is just a complete mismatch on both sides of the ball. Give me the Rams to win and cover the spread. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Cleveland Browns versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is going to be my first upset. I'm going to be picking the Cleveland Browns to win. Yes, I expect Dillon Gabriel to win his first start as an NFL quarterback. And why this may come as a surprise to some people is obviously how could you pick a rookie quarterback going against Brian Flores? I really don't think of it that way. I think of it more as Carson Wentz versus the Browns defense, and this Browns defense is elite. It is elite. It's a top 3 defense in the league. You have so much young talent on that defense. Denzel Ward, Mason Graham. You got the linebacker Carson Swininger. You also have Myles Garrett, obviously. And then they have talent in the secondary, talent in the linebacking core, talent on the defensive line. I think that this Vikings offense is going to struggle once again. They've been streaky this season. It's kind of gone. Week 1 against the Bears, they were bad for 3 quarters, great for 1 quarter. Week 2, they were bad the entire game. Week 3 was really lit up by their defense, is how they just overwhelmed Jake Browning, and that defense took over the game. And then week 4, Carson Wentz was turning the ball over. So I expect Carson Wentz to turn the ball over in this game for the Vikings. I do not trust Carson Wentz in this spot against this elite Browns defense. And on the flip side, yes, it's a rookie quarterback. Yes, it's Dillon Gabriel making his first start against Brian Flores' defense. But everyone is just going with the label of, oh, this Brian Flores defense is elite. I don't actually buy that. They've looked elite, in my opinion, for 1 game, and that was the Bengals game against Jake Browning, and Jake Browning has not looked good. The other 3 games, they gave up 24 points to Caleb Williams and the Bears. In week 2, they got ran all over by Bijan Robinson and Algier for over 200 rushing yards. And then in week 4, the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers got whatever he wanted, and Kenneth Gainwell had a breakout game. So the Vikings defense has not been able to stop the run this season. And you look at the Browns offense, what have they had success doing? Running the football with Quinshon Judkins. So I expect Judkins to have a big game. I expect this Browns defense to create turnovers on the Vikings offense. And as long as Dillon Gabriel can, and this is what he's good at. Dillon Gabriel's great at just getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And what did Rodgers do last week against the Vikings? He got the ball out of his hands quickly, did not let the Vikings pass rush affect him. And I think Gabriel is going to be getting this ball out extremely quickly. He's going to be making quick reads, quick decisions. He's going to get the ball to his tight ends in Njoku and Harold Fannin. They're going to get this running game going and then throw off play action. So I think Stefanski made this move strategically to shift from Flacco to Gabriel. I think Gabriel at this point in their careers has better accuracy than Joe Flacco, and I think he's going to be less turnover prone in this game. So give me the Browns to upset the Vikings in London and win the game. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Jets. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. And this obviously could be a trap game for Dallas, but the way that I saw the Jets play against the Dolphins on Monday night just gave me no confidence in picking them again for the rest of the season until I see them become a more disciplined football team. The Jets looked all out of sorts on that Monday night game against the Dolphins. when it came to fumbling the football. They had 3 fumbles. The penalties, it was ridiculous. And it was something I wouldn't expect out of an Aaron Glenn coach team, because I believe he's a defensive coach who should have his team prepared. And just the amount of mental mistakes they were making was just so infuriating to watch. And I can't bet on a team like that again after seeing what just happened on Monday Night Football. It's a short week for the Jets, and I honestly just don't trust Justin Fields to win games in the clutch. And I think that this game is going to come down to probably a Brandon Aubrey game-winning field goal, because this Dallas defense cannot stop a freaking bug. This Dallas defense cannot stop anything. They've given up 40 points to the Packers, 31 to the Bears, 37 to the Giants. Like, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. I expect Breece Hall for the Jets to have a great game. But overall, I think the Jets do find a way, like as Breece Hall said, to shoot themselves in the head in this game. I'm going to pick Dallas to win. I think Dak Prescott has another MVP type performance in this game. So I expect Dak to ball out. I also expect Justin Fields and that Jets offense to put up numbers. So I expect a high-scoring game. However, Dallas out-executes the Jets in the clutch. I expect a Brandon Aubrey game walk-off field goal for the Dallas Cowboys, and they'd get the win in New York. So that is Dallas to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Denver Broncos versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And in this spot, I do like the Eagles to win and cover. The line is set at -3.5. Philadelphia's been good at covering the spread this year. They're 3-1 against the spread. They failed to cover week 1 against Dallas, but the past 3 weeks against good opponents. In week 2, they covered against the Chiefs. Week 3, they covered against the Rams. And in week 4, they covered against the Buccaneers. So I expect the Eagles, they're at home. I think they're going to lean on Saquon Barkley in this game, and they're finally going to get him going. And on the flip side, I think Bo Nix will have some turnovers in this game. I can't fully trust Bo Nix yet in a big spot. And it's a really big ask to go into Philadelphia and beat the Super Bowl, the defending Super Bowl champions. So I expect the Eagles, they might have a bad half in this game. They've had a bad half in pretty much every game so far this season. They had a bad second half against Dallas, and then they had a bad, I believe it was a bad first half against the Chiefs, a bad first half against the Rams, and a bad second half against the Bucs. So although the Eagles are having bad halves of football, I will expect them to get off to a fast start in this game due to Saquon Barkley running the ball. And Jalen Hurts, it's going to be tough throwing the ball in this Denver defense, I'm not going to lie, because the Eagles' offensive line has not been able to protect Hurts as they were last season. And I believe this Eagles' offensive line has gotten worse. Denver leads the league in sacks, so I do expect Denver to cause some issues for this Eagles' offense. But like I said in my Power Rankings video, the Eagles are becoming like the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs, when it's not going to look pretty, but they're still going to find a way to get the job done, and they're still going to find a way to win football games. And recently they've been doing that with special teams, blocking punts, blocking field goals. And Denver lost the game in week 2 due to a leverage penalty, which lost them the game. So I expect the Eagles to out-execute Denver in big moments and get the win at home. So give me the Eagles to win and cover the spread, which is set at -3.5. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens versus the Houston Texans. And I'm actually going to pick the Texans as favorites in this game. Give me the Texans to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. And I believe Cooper Rush is going to be the starter for Baltimore. That's going to spell a lot of trouble for that offense, because this Texans defense is legit. They're number 1 in points allowed, and I expect them that pass rush to just absolutely eat Cooper Rush alive. And without Lamar Jackson, who's a 2-time MVP, this offense is just not the same. It's simply not the same. And Cooper Rush is an immobile quarterback, and his offensive line, the Ravens' pass blocking has not been good to start the season. That Texans defensive line is one of the best in football, with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. So I expect Cooper Rush to be overwhelmed in this game. And the thing with Baltimore is, if you can stop the run, you have a really easy formula to stopping their offense, because if you are able to stop Derrick Henry, who's the guy that can take the top off the defense in Baltimore? Zay Flowers is not a great deep threat. He's a great intermediate and run after catch threat, but he's not a great deep threat. Rashad Bateman is a decent deep threat, but he's inconsistent. And the Texans have corners to cover. They have Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. So I believe it's just on the Ravens offense against the Texans defense, it's a complete mismatch. And I believe that Texans defense will overwhelm the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. And on the flip side, CJ Stroud, I believe he should be able to get offense going in this game, because of the amount of injuries on that Baltimore defense. Now you're possibly looking at no Roquan Smith. Kyle Hamilton didn't participate in practice today. There's just a surplus of injuries on that Baltimore defense. They've looked horrible to start the year. And obviously the Texans offense does not look good either, but I do expect them to have some success against that reeling Baltimore defense. So give me the Texans to go into Baltimore and win and beat the Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens. And that would also mean that they cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders against the Colts. Give me the Colts to win this game and cover the spread, which is set at -6.5. Jonathan Taylor. That's literally it. It's just Jonathan Taylor. He is going to take over this game. He's been, I believe, in my opinion, the best back in football this year. He's one of the front runners to win Offensive Player of the Year so far. He's looked awesome. And Daniel Jones, he's been great to start the year as well. So if they play off Jonathan Taylor, run the football effectively, I think they're going to run for over 200 yards in this game. I believe the Raiders defense is not going to have an answer for Taylor. And then if they do, then Daniel Jones can simply throw off play action, find his weapons in Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, and so on and so forth. So give me the Colts to win this game. And on the defensive side of the ball, they are an opportunistic defense with Cam Bynum in the secondary. They've been getting a lot of turnovers this year. And who's the most turnover-prone quarterback in the league? Geno Smith. So that's just a recipe for disaster for the Raiders, in my opinion. The Colts are at home. I expect Jonathan Taylor to get going. They get a couple takeaways on defense. Daniel Jones game manages, and the Colts win in blowout fashion, in my opinion. Give me the Colts to win and cover the spread, which is set at -6.5. Now, for the next game, it's going to be the Miami Dolphins versus the Carolina Panthers. I'm having the Dolphins win this game straight up. I believe they're slight favorites in this game. I believe it's -120 Dolphins and -105 Panthers. So I like the Dolphins in this spot. I can't trust the Panthers at all. They've looked absolutely awful outside of one home game against the Falcons, which I believe was a fluke. And Bryce Young has looked okay. He hasn't looked very good. He has not lived up to expectations once again. And the Panthers did just go to New England and get blown out. They got absolutely blown out by the Patriots. That is not a good sign. And I think this Dolphins offense is going to have a lot of success on that Panthers defense, even without Tyreek Hill. I expect Jalen Waddle to eat. I think Achane has a huge game. And Tua, if he just takes care of the football, gets his reads, or hits his receivers. And on the other side of the ball, that Dolphins pass rushes look pretty good if they can get after Bryce Young with Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and I believe there's Chop Robinson. If they can get after Bryce Young, which I believe they can, the Dolphins should win this game. Obviously, it's even odds. I really don't like both teams at all. I don't think these two teams are very good. But if I had to pick a team, it's obviously Miami because they have the better quarterback, in my opinion. Not by a wide margin, but I believe Tua at the moment is better than Bryce Young, and Tua has the better weapons. So give me the Dolphins to win on the road in Carolina. Now for the next game, it's going to be my New York Giants against the New Orleans Saints. And this is going to be the first time I'm picking the Giants this year. I'm picking Jackson Dart to get his second career win and start off 2-0 as a starter in this league. And I think the Giants, this is a good spot for them. Their pass rush against the Saints' offensive line is going to be the biggest matchup in this game. The past two games against the Chiefs and the Chargers, this Giants' defensive line has awoken. They've been really good. Shane Bowen is starting to have things click on the defensive side of the ball. I love that performance against the Chargers. We took advantage of Joe Alt going out and Rashawn Slater going out. We were able to get tons of pressure on Justin Herbert, forced him into mistakes, and I believe we can do the same to Spencer Rattler. And that New Orleans Saints offensive line isn't great. I expect Brian Burns, who's honestly, in my opinion, a lead candidate for Defensive Player of the Year so far. He's been excellent. He's tied for the league lead in sacks. I think Abdul Carter should get going in this game. He had 9 pressures against the Chargers in Week 4. So I expect Abdul Carter to play well. Kayvon Thibodeau's having a career year. This pass rush is going to get after Spencer Rattler. And on the flip side of the ball, I believe we get Cam Scatterbo going. We're even going to give him more touches than we have so far. He got 25 carries last week against the Chargers. I expect the same again in this week. I expect us to lean on the run game, and that Saints run defense is not very good. So I expect us to lean on Cam Scatterbo, and he's probably going to go over 100 yards. And Dart, just simply take care of the football. Continue to use your legs to get first downs. Be efficient on third down, which he was against the Chargers. I expect him to be efficient on third down again. And now without Malik Neighbors, I believe Darius Slayton is going to step up as the deep threat for this team. So I expect Jackson Dart and Darius Slayton to connect on a deep ball in this game. I expect Scatterbo to get the run game going. And on the other side of the football, I expect us to get pressure on Spencer Rattler, force him into mistakes, get some turnovers, and get this win on the road. So give me the Giants to win the game in New Orleans straight up. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Seattle Seahawks. This is going to be the first game of the 405-425 slate, and I like the Buccaneers as underdogs. And this is just a gut feeling pick, in my opinion. Obviously, the statistics and just really when you crunch it down to the roster, I believe Seattle does have a better roster currently than Tampa Bay. But right now, it's just a gut feeling in me telling me to pick Baker Mayfield, to not bet against Baker Mayfield in this spot. And I like the Bucs. I think this is a type of game where whoever gets the ball last wins. I think it's a shootout. I think it's a shootout between Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, and I believe Baker Mayfield will get the best of this matchup despite being on the road and missing his top weapon in Mike Evans. Emeka Ibuka and Chris Godwin are going to be healthy in this game. They might be without Bucky Irving, but Rachaad White is probably the best backup, or one of the best backups in the league. And he was the lead back last season before Bucky Irving took over. So Rachaad White is definitely a capable running back in this league. So I take it with a grain of salt that Bucky's out in this game. Obviously, it's a big loss, but Rachaad White can easily fill his shoes. And on the offensive line, they are getting healthier. Last week was Tristan Wirfs' first game back. And we're talking about Tampa's injuries. Let's look at Seattle's injuries. They're actually having some injuries of their own in the secondary. They might be without Devon Witherspoon and Julian Love in this game, as well as Nick Eamon-Worry. So I think that there's injuries on both sides, but I expect Baker Mayfield to win a shootout against Sam Darnold. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks, what do they want to establish? They want to establish the run game. And what is Tampa great at? Stopping the run. They held Saquon Barkley to 43 rushing yards last week on 18 carries. That's almost less than 2 yards per carry. So I expect the Tampa run defense to shut down Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and then that's going to force Sam Darnold to become one-dimensional. And I think that they're going to be able to get some pressure on Sam Darnold, maybe get a turnover or two on that Seattle team. But this is going to be a high-scoring game. I expect this game to be in the high 20s and low 30s. Give me Tampa Bay to win on a game-winning drive. It would be their fourth game-winning drive and Baker Mayfield's fourth quarter comeback in so far to start the season. So I like Tampa to win on the road as plus 3.5 underdogs. I expect them to win straight up in Seattle. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Tennessee Titans versus the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, the Titans look like the worst team in the league. Give me the Cardinals to win and cover the spread, which is set at -7.5. I'm not that comfortable picking this spread in favor of Arizona, given that it's more than a touchdown. But I also said the same thing last week against Houston, and they wind up winning by 26, and the Titans get shut out. So there's a lot of issues with this Titans team. I believe Brian Callahan is going to get fired sooner rather than later. I think he's going to be the first head coach fired so far this season. And I think it might happen soon because this Titans team looks awful. They have no juice to them, no life. Brian Callahan is not... I think he's already lost the locker room. And that's not a good sign in Tennessee for Cam Ward's rookie year. It hasn't gotten off to a good start, and I don't expect him to turn around this week in Arizona. And Arizona's got some injuries in the backfield. They were without Trey Benson and without James Conner, but now they have Amari DiMercado and Michael Carter stepping in. I expect them to be a nice split backfield duo. Marvin Harrison showed signs of promise last week against the Seahawks. Trey McBride is good. That Arizona Cardinals defense is underrated in my opinion, so I expect them to get some turnovers off of Cam Ward and that Titans offense, get some sacks, and they're going to win this game comfortably. So give me the Cardinals to win and cover the spread, which is set at -7.5. Now for the next game, it's going to be the Detroit Lions against the Bengals. And if the Titans have contention for worst team in the league, it's probably Cincinnati right now without Joe Burrow. And I picked Joe Burrow to win the MVP in the preseason before the season started. And if there's any player going out that really emphasizes the word MVP, it's Joe Burrow. Because look at how awful this Bengals team looks without him. Joe Burrow got this team to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow got this team back to an AFC championship game. And without him, they look like a total mess. They look awful. This is, in contention with the Houston Texans, the worst offensive line I've ever seen. They're absolutely awful. And you can't expect Jake Browning to do anything. You can't expect any quarterback. People are saying, oh, trade for Russ, trade for Jameis. The quarterback is not the issue in Cincinnati. It is the offensive line. And until they get that right, and they're paying too many guys, they're paying Jamar Chase, they're paying T. Higgins, they're paying Trey Hendrickson. They have not addressed the offensive line, and that's what caused Joe Burrow to get hurt, and that's what's causing Jake Browning and this offense to look horrible. It's not looking good. And I don't expect it to get any better this week. You couldn't have asked for a worse opponent to play the following week after you just lost by 25 points. They play the Lions. And the Lions are going to detonate the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Give me them to win by blowout. The spread is, I believe, -10.5. I like Detroit to win and cover in Cincinnati. And I don't even have to mention the Lions. I just think the Bengals are that bad, and the Lions have looked like the Lions again. And what do the Lions do to bad teams? They blow them out. So give me Detroit to win by blowout. I expect Jahmyr Gibbs and Monty to eat in this game. Probably rush for over 200 yards. The Bengals' run defense did not look good last week against R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. So Goff is going to be efficient. Gibbs and Monty are going to dominate this game. That Lions defense is going to get many sacks. Aiden Hutchinson might have 4 sacks. And give me the Lions to win convincingly. So for the next game, it's going to be the Commanders versus the Chargers. I like the Chargers in this spot to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. And I believe the Commanders have injuries just piling up. You have Deebo Samuel, who's been a non-participant in practice this week. Terry McLaurin just got rolled out. And Jaden Daniels is just now returning from injury. This Commanders team is just getting killed by injuries so far. And I think the Chargers, this is a good bounce back spot for them. I think the Commanders' defense is weak. Justin Herbert, Amari, and Hampton, that receiving core can take advantage of this weak Washington defense. And the one weakness on this Chargers team right now is their offensive line. And I don't think that Washington has the pass rushers to take advantage of that weak offensive line. So I expect the Chargers offense to have success in this spot. And then Jaden Daniels, without possibly his top 2 weapons, and Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, to struggle against that elite Chargers defense. So this is a great get-right spot for the Chargers. Give me them to win and cover the spread, which is set at -2.5. And now for the next game, it's going to be the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills. And in this game, I actually expect the Patriots to cover the spread, which is set at +7.5, but I do expect the Bills to win. And I think this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people expect because Drake May is playing at a very high level this season, and I think it's going way under the radar. I believe people are focusing on Jackson Dart, on Caleb Williams, on Cam Ward, and Drake May has kind of slowly just gone under the radar. I mean, he's playing at a very, very high level right now. When it comes to completion percentage, he's completing over 70% of his passes. He has accounted for pretty much the most yards of any quarterback on any team in the league. So he's really putting this Patriots team on his back in terms of offensive production. He has his weapons, his top weapon right now is Stephon Diggs. And the running backs haven't been very reliable because they've been fumbling the football. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson. We're all still waiting on the breakout of Travion Henderson, which I believe will come soon. It could even come in this game against the Bills. And we're just waiting on Travion to break out. He finally got his first career touchdown last week against the Carolina Panthers. So I do expect him to get involved in this game. And I expect this Patriots offense to contend with the Bills because I believe this Bills defense is vulnerable on the back end. And I think that Drake May can take advantage of that. I think Drake May, this is one of his first primetime games, I think. And I think he comes to ball out. And I think he gives Josh Allen a run for his money in this game. I believe this line's a little bit too disrespectful to the Patriots. And the past 2 times that the Bills have been favored by over a touchdown, they have failed to cover. They were favored by 15.5 against the Saints. They won by 12. And then they were favored by, I believe it was 11.5 or 12.5 against the Dolphins and won by 10. Or I believe it was 11. So I expect the Patriots to cover the spread in this game, hang around, and Josh Allen's obviously going to be terrific on the other side of the football. He's been great all season. James Cook has been great. So I have no concerns about this Bills offense against the Patriots defense, but I also think that the Patriots offense can have success against the Bills defense. So I believe it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. I expect the Patriots to contend in this game. So I expect them to cover the spread, which is set at +7.5, but I do believe the Bills continue their undefeated season and improve to 5-0. And now finally for Monday Night Football, we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I expect the Chiefs to win this game and cover the spread, which is set at -3.5. And although I have them covering the spread, I do expect it to be a pretty close game. I just have them winning by more than 4. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. My final score prediction for this game would be around 31-23 in favor of Kansas City. I believe their offense finally got going last week with Xavier Worthy coming back, and I think that success is going to continue. And the Jags defense has been an opportunistic defense, which means that they're the best team right now in the league at forcing turnovers. And the Chiefs, what they do very well is they don't turn the ball over. Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure Andy Reid is making it very, very important, is emphasizing the point to take care of the football this week. The Chiefs running backs don't fumble the ball, and Patrick Mahomes rarely throws interceptions. So although this Jags defense looks great because they're forcing a lot of turnovers, when it comes down to actual down-to-down defense, they're not very good. So I expect the Chiefs to have some good success against this Jags defense, the Chiefs offense to have good success against the Jags defense. I expect Mahomes to get going in this and passing the ball, and I expect him to also use his legs. And on the flip side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence has not been reliable this season. And in the preseason, I predicted Liam Cohen to win Coach of the Year. That's looking pretty good right now. He's got his squad at 3-1, and they're playing great football. But Trevor Lawrence has not taken that step that I expected him to take yet. Now, this is a big spot for him on Monday Night Football, standalone game. Can you finally break out of this shell that you've been in ever since 2022 and really show the number one overall pick potential? And I expect him to look okay in this game. He might have a couple turnovers, but he's got to get Brian Thomas to football. And I believe Travis Hunter, he's got to get more involved on offense. So if Liam Cohen can scheme his guys open, if he can scheme Thomas open, and if he can scheme Travis Hunter open, the Jags will have success. And where I think the Jags can really have success in this game is running the football. Although Trevor has not been on point, this running game has been outstanding to start the season. Travis Etienne has looked great. He's looked back to that 2023 form, which saw him be one of the best backs in all of football. Travis Etienne has kind of gotten back into that form this season. I believe he's top 3 in rushing yards so far this season. So the Jags are a great running team, and I expect them to get that going against the Chiefs. They're probably going to look to play ball control offense and keep Mahomes on the sideline. But when Mahomes does get the ball, I expect him to go on scoring drives. So I expect a high-scoring game on both sides. Give me the Chiefs to win and cover the spread. But I do believe that the Jags hang around in this game and keep it within one possession. So give me the Chiefs to win and cover the spread, which is set at -3.5. And that is going to be it for this video. I will see you guys next time for when I release my top 10 teams in the NFL after Week 5.